Right. Okay, good evening, everybody, and welcome to this meeting of the Planning and Community Committee. Woodley Town Council meetings are now recorded, with recording streamed live and stored on the Town Council's YouTube channel. By virtue of attending the meeting, you consent to having your image and audio recorded for this purpose. If you don't wish for your image to be recorded and the audio recorded, then please do not stay for the meeting. For those in attendance, we are not expecting a fire drill tonight, so if you hear the fire alarm, please head to the nearest fire exit and congregate at the fire assembly point by the Oakwood Centre at the front of Woodford Park. Thank you. Okay, on with the meeting. Apologies. Do we have any apologies?
Yeah, we have apologies from Councillor Lewis. Councillor Lewis is indicated online and he's attending virtually.
Right, thank you very much. Do we have any declarations of interest? Yes, Councillor Baker.
Just to register the fact that I've had a couple of meetings alongside my Coronation Borough Councillor with PT Care Homes about that particular application. I also attended their public consultation. I've also had conversations with residents in Stafford Close and around there. None of which
Okay, thank you very much. No others? No? Minutes of the Planning and Community meeting held on the 12th of December. Are you happy that these are a true record of that meeting? Or do you have any comments you wish to make before I sign them as such? Thank you. Let's have a look at the actions and follow-ups on page 17. I don't know whether we've got the update on the first item, which is the Ask Angela initiative at the Town Council. Is there anything further? Moving on there, sorry, you're very much. Sorry.
Yes, we do. I've had a bit of a look into it. The website, guys, is very much for hospitality businesses that are engaged in sort of nighttime entertainment, so pubs, clubs, those sorts of venues. There was a small reference in one of the guides that says any venue can take it on. But the principle of Ask Angela is that someone on a night out who gets into a situation with someone that they're uncomfortable in can then go up to a bar person or employee, say, I'd like to speak to Angela, and the person doesn't necessarily deal with the situation, but very undercover slips them out of the premises. So considering the sort of clientele we have here and at the Leisure Centre, it doesn't necessarily seem like a sort of plan that if we introduce them, we would have the need to introduce, because we don't get those sorts of people there. So that's currently kind of what I've been able to find out.
Yeah. Have we sort of had any conversation with the town centre manager regarding shops in the town centre actually taking this on? I wonder whether it's something that should be discussed with them, or are we leaving that to the borough? I don't know.
I would say on the website there is an encouragement for any kind of overarching local authority to get in touch with them about promoting it locally. So it could be something that we as a local council might be able to encourage local businesses in the area to consider, and we could promote it. Obviously it's not widely used at all in the area as far as I'm aware. I'm not sure if anyone has got it, but it is something we could look at seeing if we can try and promote it amongst those businesses.
Yeah. Chairman, might I suggest Dr. Brian and maybe have an agenda item in a future meeting, which is coming up.
Yeah. Sorry, who was first?
Gina responds.
Yeah.
I was just saying, really, where you'd expect to kind of use this, pubs, pubs and clubs, and we haven't got lots of. Well, I don't think we've got any nightclubs in Woodley, but we've got pubs, and it might be just something we could drop a line out to the pubs to say it's being.
It was first role we had to talk about in the borough.
It was, places like chemists would be an ideal place that somebody would feel happy going up and asking for that assistance. You know, they're open perhaps a bit longer on social hours, and I mean, it doesn't have to be out of hours, it can be any time during the day if somebody's got a concern.
Yeah, I think it's, it's like, I understood it to be, you're in a pub, you're getting hit on by some creep and you're concerned about it. So you can go to the, bar, ask for Angela and they'll whistle your way out of it. That's my understanding of how it
That's
would
what I
work.
understood as well.
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
I suppose you guys don't get hit on.
It's
right?
more.
Not very often.
Constantly we manage our ladies.
I understood it was more for the evening as well, during the day.
So therefore, yeah, I mean, you say, not the bars, but we've got something like Bosco now, which
Yeah.
be a possibility, that type of venue
Yeah,
as well.
and the checkers and the balloon
Okay.
checkers and.
Yeah, Robert.
I don't think we make many creeps in.
That's inside Soft Guys.
I was going to say, I'm sure there's something for chemists. I was about to Google it. I thought it was Ask for Annie. I might
Yeah, it
think
was
it's something
Ask for Annie
else.
was originally what it was titled.
Yeah,
And somehow it's got changed. Well, I know when it first came up with the borough, it was Ask for Annie.
yeah.
And it's changed to Ask for
And it
Annie.
was chemists that. Annie.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
So,
No, thank you. That was what I was going to.
Yeah.
say.
okay. Right, no other comments on that, so that'll be followed up with the TCMI. Thanks very much. Wokingham Borough Council's local plan, whether to update Woodley's design statement, including evaluating the benefits of such. So we're awaiting approval from WBC. Is there anything further from WBC on that?
But not on the local plan.
No. Okay. Action plans from the meeting. Appointments on the cycling and working group, provided with the Conservative group, 2 places, label 1 by email. We're in a situation where we have nobody from the Conservative group actually coming onto that, and it was suggested that we use 2 interested.
Yeah, we've got an agenda item on.
Yeah, we can deal with that, okay. And the update on early station footbridge, item included in the agenda, so that's to be dealt with, yep. Okay, thank you very much. We move on. Current planning applications. We have a number to go through tonight, but as we have representative from the 233168 former Travis Perkins site, I think it might be best if we actually start with that one. Yeah,
Chairman, can I suggest slightly different? We have a resident here for 4 Commons Road,
right.
and I know that the Travis Perkins site, we've got a presentation, and I'm just thinking
Time
we
wise,
potentially could get through the Commons. Commons
Okay.
Hall Road
right?
quickly, if that's okay. with you.
Yeah.
I agree with Keith. Gosh. What happened to the 2 that were sat there?
Well, I don't know.
They're going to submit their concerns online.
Oh,
They
okay.
believe
They're not
it's
gonna
not-
come back.
No, they believe it's not a planning issue, so.
Yeah, I agree with Keith. Let's do 4 Commons more.
Okay, so 4 Coleman'smore Road is a household application for proposed raising of the roof and loft conversion to create habitable accommodation. 3 numbered dormers to the main rear elevation and 1 dormer to the front elevation. This has come to planning, and there, I believe, was 1 objection noted from a neighbour. You are the neighbour.
I'm the neighbour.
Right, okay, I didn't know whether you the applicant or the, okay, did you want to speak?
Just very briefly, so my neighbour Simon's plan is to raise the roof and square off the edges. I don't know correct, I'm not a builder, I'm afraid. But what that's going to do is going to block the sun to my patio from about 4 o'clock in the height of summer from 4 o'clock onwards. I know this because the building's been surrounded with scaffolding for the last year, so I know what it's been like because I've been living with it for the last year. Now, to state, I'm not sure it's absolutely relevant, but he built a 4-metre high shed right against the border, which blocks out the sun from mid-autumn, winter and mid-spring. And if this extension goes through, this will then take that last bit of sunlight you have from the summer from you. In the strongest possible terms, please, could I have someone have a look at this and just expect the site, and I think it'll be quite obvious. Or just to register my objection, thank you.
Thank you very much, thank you. You mentioned about the shed. I think it's become on to further on the agenda. It's an important notice notification on the shed on page 58 of the agenda that refers to that particular issue regarding the shed. I think it's regarding the finish on the rendering. Was that a comment that? you made?
Well, the guttering is on my side, that might be part of it.
Yeah,
But it's more to the height, proximity to the which
Okay.
the sun.
right, okay, so as far as the piece that you're talking on now, which is the raising of the roof, I know the building, I come down there and I see it, it has been up there for quite some time. I don't know what members of the committee have comments on. The only thing I was a little bit, when I looked at the plans, was it had three dormers one side and one dormer the other. But it was used, it said used for storage.
The plans, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why you would require three dormers or four
I couldn't
dormers.
see any sign of
Particularly
habitable
if
accommodation.
there's already a lot of storage in
Yeah.
the.
Chairman, the usage of.
It's no, I realise
is
that.
is not a planning matter,
No.
you know.
Okay.
Otherwise, a lot of garages would still be garages.
Well, I would contradict that, because insofar as the size of that elevated area is sufficient to put 2 bedrooms in. If they put 2 bedrooms in, even if it's 12 months down the line, once they've got planning to put the extension on, then you've got a 4-bedroom house that has become a 6-bedroom house.
But again,
And parking for, is it 2 cars?
Yeah, that would then become an enforcement issue, wouldn't it? If it
no,
went to- well,
no,
if-
no, absolutely
if-
not. There is no planning law that says you cannot separate a big room to 2 rooms, or take 2 rooms and make it 1 room, take a garage and make it habitable, etc. They are not planning issues. I absolutely know that.
building regulation issues, though.
Potentially, if it's like a, you know,
Garage to a living room.
if it's like a supporting wall and things like that. But that, again, it's not a planning, and building regs is a civil matter.
I'm confused because we have a number of planning applications requesting turning a garage into a habitable accommodation. And that comes through as a planning request.
And it comes through and you'll see that they're getting rid of the garage door, they're putting a window in, putting a door in. What I'm talking about is someone just says, I'm gonna not park my car in there, I'm gonna put plasterboard around the edge, I'm gonna put carpet in there, you can do that.
Okay.
So
Well,
that's the difference.
We'll take your advice, thank you very much.
With the one exception, and yes, they are making alterations by putting dormer windows in.
Yeah,
Yes,
so that's what we can.
but that's on the outside, that's nothing to do with what the inside is doing.
So
Sorry.
based on what the applicant is asking for is to have permission to to raise the roof and to put the dormer windows in. What's your comment? Carol?
Well, just want to point out that it says in the description to create habitable accommodation. So that's what they're doing. And it strikes me that we have a number of these where there's conversion to the loft and dormers inserted. Don't always have to raise the roof. And I feel very sympathetic towards the neighbour. They're going to lose even more light with that height of the roof. And I propose that we support that neighbour's objection. Because of the impact it will have on their property.
Could we see the first picture again, please?
The Google picture or the elevations. The elevations, yes. So that's the existing elevations as shown on the plans. Second, just have a quick look at that. And that's the proposed elevations. Just flipping back.
It was quite overbearing.
Bill, could I just recommend if, just say something, the shading of the patio isn't a planning issue. It's unfortunate, but it's not a planning issue.
No, planning issue.
But the shed is quite a concern because sheds on boundaries shouldn't be any more than 2,400 mil within the edge of the boundary. So if they've got a 4-metre high shed, then that should be reported to.
That is already.
Yeah, coming up.
So-
We need
Yeah.
to concentrate.
But on this one, I mean, if, at the very least, I would say we should object to that as being overbearing and not in keeping with the area.
But I mean, that's huge.
How many
Yeah.
rooms does this proposed extension make?
One,
But again,
One-
that's irrelevant. isn't
yes,
it?
that's what we're saying.
Can you flick to
It's
before and
just-
after?
it's just so top heavy.
Keep doing that.
It's just so top heavy.
Yeah.
The documentation is also inconsistent because on the planning application form, it says the loft space to be non-habitable space, which made me ask the question, why do you want dormers in it then? But there's another thing that says it's to create habitable accommodation, so we don't actually know what they're going to do inside it.
To know from me, but it's certainly a from me.
Okay, so based on what we have before us,
What are our planning objections to it?
yes, the planning objections are, as you mentioned, overbearing, not in keeping with the area. Are there any other objections that we can bring? The fact of damaging or restricting the light to the gentleman's patio, not really.
I'd be appalled if it was next door to me, but it's not a planning objection.
There is unneighbourly is a planning objection.
Well, it's definitely unneighbourly,
Subjective,
so,
but it's,
Yeah. Carol,
Could I suggest that we say if it's likely to be approved, that a site visit should be made to see the impact on the neighbour?
if you want a site visit and you want a site visit away from the officers, then it has to be listed. So it goes before the committee, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Rather than the officers just deciding.
Okay.
So are you suggesting then that we
I'm
are?
just having a backup really, that if they decide for some obscure reason that this is okay, that we then say, we'll go and have a look at it because we have that concern.
We could say that if the officers are minded to approve it, we would request it to be listed. And then go before the planning committee.
Yeah, you could do it.
I could do it because it's in my ward.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes. So, I mean, if that's
So can I just slightly modify what Karen said there? Does this committee want a borough councillor to list it? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes.
okay. Okay, you're aware of what we're doing. Right, okay, so what happens is that it's come to us to make our recommendations to the Wokingham Borough Council based on what we have before us. What we've suggested is, because this very often, developments like this would be decided by the officers of the council, not by elected members who form the committee. If we ask for it to be listed, or if I ask for it to be listed, it then goes before the committee. So you will have elected members looking at it. Also, we could ask for a site visit if we feel it's necessary to have a site visit. That way, you're getting more scrutiny and you're getting perhaps a wider view on whether or not your objections stand up, if you like. So it's a better tool, if you like. All right, so we will recommend that based on the objections that we've come up with. You're quite happy with that? And we'll keep you informed. Okay, you're welcome to stay. But if you don't wish to, and I've told them.
Well, you mentioned before the shed was on there.
Yes, the shed is, sorry, later on in the agenda, we get a list of those enforcements that are being actioned. And the 4 Coleman's Moor comes up again, based on the objection regarding the shed. So that one will be looked at by an enforcement officer.
There's nothing to be discussed about it here.
Not really, no, just to know that it's going to be done.
Very much for your time. Thank you so much. It's been very, very stressful. I've been very worried about this.
Yeah, okay, sure. Thanks for your time.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so we'll go now on to 233168, which is a former Travis Perkins site. This is the erection of a residential care home. We looked at this 2 meetings ago, I think, and I think we recommended approval, but it went to Wokingham Borough and they rejected it. So you're back with the new proposal.
I am, yeah, sorry, I haven't got anything digitally. But
No, no.
I can show you best if I can. So,
Do you want to come in then?
I can very much, it's not my camera, but basically, let me just explain. I work with Community Care Homes, I'm the Land and Development Director. We have been refused consent by Woking Borough Council. And there were 3 grounds for objection, which was the scale and massing of the building, as in the bulk and the size of it. There was the impact on the neighbouring properties on one side where there were Stafford closes, and then in addition to that, it was the light aspects of their garden. So that was the councillors' 3 grounds for objection. So what we've done is we've taken the opportunity to completely redesign the care home. We've re-met the neighbours to show them and engage with them of what we are proposing. And you've all got a copy of the newsletter, which has gone round to about, I think it's about 150 houses around different parts of Woodley. But what I've got here is just some visual images, which you may or may not remember from, this is the refused scheme.
Yeah.
So that's what the building was looking like. And it has been drastically redesigned. As you can see here, we've changed the building materials quite drastically. We've changed the roofing by having, now we have, this is the front of the building when you first drive in. So it actually looks like a row of buildings with different roof lines and different pitches, which softens the visual impact of the building. Then on the side where the neighbouring properties are, we've got different roof levels, and we've taken off all of the windows on the first floor, which are in line with the neighbours' properties. And although it looks like there's windows here, they're actually dummy windows with bricks on the inside, but it's done for aesthetic reasons, because when our architect designed the building and didn't have windows there, it just looked like a horrendous blank brick wall. So we've got these fake windows here, but the dining room and the lounges are in these 2 respective areas. And what we've got is we've got gardens on the first floor. So each of these areas have got outside space, but we have smoked glass. So there's no overlooking issues of the neighbouring properties at all. So we've stepped the building back further away from the boundary. So we've moved back slightly from the neighbours' properties. We've taken off all of the windows on the first floor, and we've got no direct overlooking. And on the second floor, again, we've got no windows on that side of the building at all. All the windows are on the other side, which is overlooking the BT yard, which doesn't have an impact on any of the residents. So that is basically the material changes we've made, taking it from that building to that building, which we feel is better visually, and it breaks up the massing. And we're now working with the planning officer to try and prove to him and hope he sees that we have done everything we possibly can to address his concerns and answer his questions and queries that we have. But we're totally committed to the site. We do actually own the piece of land, and we've got an identified need for the 68-bedroom care home. It is residential and dementia care that we are proposing, and we are specialist operators. It's all we do, and we just hope that the new scheme is received slightly more favourably than the old scheme.
When you say you engaged with the residents, so the neighbours,
Yes.
were there any objections before? No.
We've had
So-
no objection
Yeah,
from any of the neighbours. We did an initial consultation. I'm going to step back a bit, so I haven't got my back to you, so I apologise. We did an initial consultation and invited multiple neighbours round, and we had a drop-in session. And I think during the course of the evening, we had about 30 to 40 people arrive, and we explained all of the plans. In fact, Councillor Baker attended and met a number of the residents at that time as well. And basically, we had very, very strong support from the local community. 1 or 2 of the neighbours that live in Stafford Close directly back onto the premises, and they had concerns, quite rightly, about the size of the building next to their gardens and what the views were going to be like from their properties. So what we've done is worked with them every step of the way on the original application, and we've actually walked the site with them, and we've looked in and out from what the building will look like from our site and from their site. And I've tabled all of the new plans to the neighbours in Stafford Close so that they've actually seen them. But our new architect is a completely different company, and he's got state-of-the-art technology, and we've increased the sustainability of the building. So we've removed gas from it, and we've actually got a lot of solar panels concealed within the roof space. So there's no visual impact to the neighbouring properties and no sunlight reflections. But we've also got a huge bank of air source heat pumps, so that we've got sustainability and we're increasing our green rating. But we're highly aware, due to other care homes we've got, air source heat pumps are, everybody claims the future, but they run 24 hours a day. They are noisy, they don't stop at night, and they vibrate. So we don't want to have a problem with the residents that live around, and we've learned from experience. So what we've actually got on the site plan is, this is the entrance where you drive in, these are the houses on Stafford Close, and these are the houses at the front of the site. We have a bank of air source heat pumps screened behind our building. If I step down, people will have to see a bit more. So the air source heat pumps are along our boundary here, which will be behind an acoustic fence, screened from the building, and as far as we can get away from the neighbouring properties. So we feel we've done everything we possibly can to increase that sustainability, but also to minimise the dramatic impact of an air source heat pump. So we've done that as well. But what we've also done is our architect has very cleverly got software which can create a picture as if he's standing in the back gardens of the Stafford Close properties. And this is what they look at the moment with the Travis Perkins yard. And this is what they'll see should our application be approved. And quite honestly, when I spoke to Helen and Keith, who live in, I think it's number 7, they were absolutely over the moon that the building is set back, and what they're going to look at, which is potentially a red brick building, is very, very different to the massing of Travis Perkins. So, as I said, we've engaged as much as we can with the neighbours and brought them on side. And we've also got various plans which show the shadowing of summer light and winter light on their buildings at the moment, and the new building over and above what is there at the moment. The only difference is a very, very small corner of their garden where there's a very, very slightly different shadowing from our building as opposed to the Travis Perkins, but that's only from 4 p.m. No, it's not, from 6 p.m. onwards on the summer solstice. So it's a minimal impact for 3 hours a year. So again, we've explained all of this to the residents, and they're supportive of us every step of the way.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
As we looked at this, the original drawings, and we had no objections and recommended approval. The alterations that have been made or that you're making, that's the only thing that we could actually raise any concerns about, I would think. So based on the alterations that you've made, do we have any comments?
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, so we're all happy that we recommend approval. Thank you very much.
Okay, well, thank you for your time and the opportunity to speak.
Thank you.
Can I say now that the decision being made? I've worked with quite a lot of developers over the last 18 years. My career as a borough councillor, and I've never worked with a developer that's been so diligent about not just doing a consultation, here we are coming, but actually physically to go and knocking on doors. And you are to be congratulated, and I hope you do get it.
Well, thank you very much indeed.
We need other developers to treat residents with that level of diligence, really.
Yep. Thank you very
I
much.
don't need something to minute that.
Thank you. No. Anyway, well, thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, you're welcome to stay.
I'm going to run for the door. Thank you.
We'll move on to the next application, which is 233032, 47 Western Avenue. Full application for proposed erection of a single-storey rear extension to the existing industrial unit. Again, we've seen this one before, a couple of meetings ago, or last meeting, I'm not sure. I think it was the last meeting, it must have been the meeting before. But this is a further extension to the front of it, the building, as far as I could see. This is used as a hairdressers. Ross?
I don't think we've seen this one before.
No, I think it's one further down the
I
road.
thought it was this one.
No.
How many are there down Western Avenue then?
It's behind the Parrot hairdressers. which you're
Yeah.
talking about. There's buildings behind it,
Right,
and this is to do with the buildings behind it.
right, okay. My mistake. We haven't seen this one before. So, okay. It's full of an extension to the existing industrial unit. And I think the extension is on the front of it, isn't it?
No,
Have you seen it? I'm wrong again. haven't I? Yeah.
To refresh our memories of this.
I know this one didn't come with any,
Innovation.
the elevations are included in here, so that's the existing.
It's one neighbour, comment.
And this is,
That's what I took as the extension. We read that.
It's just got longer.
Yeah,
a bit longer.
That's it on the front, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's not the Parrot hairdressers.
No, right.
There's a building behind it.
Okay. Yeah.
that section goes right at the back of it.
I mean, the only comment I had was sympathy with the resident about the rendering of the.
Yeah.
Oh, is it that one?
Um,
So that, so could we then go with sympathy for the neighbour? Could we say that we'd hope that the officers would follow up that the rendering was completed
Yes.
to the existing building as well as the extension? Could you can we make that as a sort of a?
Well, if it was in the plans, then it should be completed. But you're wanting the other part of it added to it as far as rendering is concerned.
Rendering is there for most of the extension,
Yeah.
and there's just one bit that they haven't. It seems
well,
silly not to do it, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's no reason why we can't make that as a recommendation rather than the condition. I think.
Or we do our usual catch-all, approve, but please
Take into
take into
consideration.
consideration the neighbours.
Yeah.
Or the comments.
Yes.
Everybody happy with that?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. 233035, which is 4 Harding Road, household application for proposed single-storey front extension.
Just a porch, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I couldn't see any real objections to it. Anybody have any objections? No? Okay, we'll approve that one. 233051, which is 52 Vauxhall Drive, household application for the proposed single-storey front extension with changes to fenestration. This one, it didn't make a great deal of difference to the building line, I don't think, of the location. Is it that one? I might be getting confused.
That's
From when
what-
they move the door around to the side of the
Yeah.
house.
Yeah.
There are similar
Property.
things,
Yeah.
boxes put on the front of other houses down the road.
Anybody have any comments on that one?
Oh, it's okay.
No, so we're happy to.
Yeah.
Agree with that one, thank you. 233064. A side extension, 233064. Application for a single-storey side extension, and this
I found this
seems
quite
to be
confusing.
part of the garage, isn't
They
it?
want to build a garage as well.
Yes, yeah,
Which is unusual.
yeah,
The other
that's
way.
right, the other way.
I had to read it a few times.
And again, it doesn't seem to cause any great problems for neighbouring, and in fact, there's been no objections, so do we have any comments at all? No?
No.
No.
Quite happy with that one. 233067, this is the Crediton Close application for proposed change of use of amenity land to residential land, and this is extending the existing fence 2 metres high, close board fencing. I know Keith, you often have objections to amenity land, but I don't know whether this one really.
So do I.
Yeah, as a concept, I think immediately land belongs to everyone in
Yeah.
the UK. But when you look at this application, it's the equivalent of one fence panel.
Yeah,
It's not much.
no.
And all it's doing is, you see the blue line
Yeah.
going up to where the two cars are.
Yeah.
At the moment, that blue line running parallel to the close, the right critical close, is about one fence panel back from there. So all they're doing is squaring it off. So despite my normal, it's amenity, we have to have it, it seems to me a sensible thing to do, so I have no problems with it.
Okay. Does anybody else have any concerns? No?
Yes.
Right, that's fine. 233145. 20 Blanchard, household application for proposed part single, part 2-story side extension, single story rear extension, garage conversion, and changes of fenestration. I just made a note on this. There was a bit parking issue. I think it's, we got a drawing of that one where there's the plan.
I can't read mine.
Yeah, sorry, there's another one showing vehicle parked, and it was
It's
one of
one
the
of the-
angle, wasn't it?
It's in the design and access stage.
Yeah, possibly. There was one there. Not. Oh, there we are, that one. That one. The car is parked at right angles. Is that just the reversing on or?
Sorry.
Yeah.
One.
Yeah.
That's all right.
It's all right, it does get on, doesn't it? Yeah. Right. Any comments on that one at all? No? Everybody happy with that? Yep. Okay. 233161. 30 Reading Road. Householder application for the proposed construction of a 2-story rear extension. Again, I couldn't see any issues. I don't know whether anybody else has. No.
Big plot.
Okay. And finally, 233193, 49 Quentin Road, household.
166.
Oh, I missed 166, sorry. We had it, didn't I?
Reading Road.
Reading Road, it's all happening in Reading Road. It must be a very wealthy area. Sorry.
I wish.
233166, 138 Reading Road, household application construction of a single-story front extension to create a porch, a single-story side extension, and a single-story rear extension, plus a loft conversion to create habitable accommodation, along with the construction, a rear-facing dormer into the existing roof with changes to quite a big alteration on this one. So, any comment?
The only thing I spotted on there, there's a Juliet balcony. I think we've had issues with that before. As far as I can see, there's not a house at the end of the garden, but there is one slightly over to the right. And so what you could see from the Juliet balcony, I don't know. And I'm guessing it's probably further away than it needs to be in the rules. But it's just Juliet balcony seems to be quite contentious, don't they?
Generally, the borough council refuse anything with Juliet.
All right.
In general.
Yeah, it's just.
We just don't like them.
Look. Do they back, does that part of it back onto not, what's the road,
No, it's Roxham Road. There's up the side of Roxham Road there.
no, not.
And that's where it is.
Is it?
It's that property now, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the garden,
Obviously, a lot of them.
Oh, right,
yes,
yeah.
the house sort of behind is kind of offset, because obviously the plot's around the other way. So, I mean, I can't imagine you'd be able to see.
It's a long way off as well.
No,
Yeah.
no, I know, it's just the same when you see Juliet balcony, you know, oh, no, here we go.
Well, that is, this seems to be an image from the garden.
Yeah.
Not mine.
We're all, no problems or?
There's Robert.
Sunday.
So it's covered tea.
Okay, so that one was okay. Now we move on to 233193. Household application construction of a first floor side extension above the existing garage and a single story rear extension with changes to fenestration. So, any comments at all on that one? Anybody
No,
have any
no
objections?
So that's the one that had failed before, wasn't it? Is it that one?
We did one in Kensington, didn't we? Was it there before?
Portsmouth Quintin, yeah, we had no objection previously, it was refused on 10th of July.
The terracing thing. We didn't spot.
Well,
Hmm.
I mean, we've got no grounds to refuse it, it's also a refusal. isn't it?
Assuming that they've fixed the issue.
Okay, that's fine. So that completes the planning applications. We come on to planning decisions, page 20, and this is really just a note to see how we did in comparison. Withdrawn, no determination is credited. Number one, household application of road, relocation of existing fence. So withdrawn. So obviously site alteration on that then, I would think. Refused contrary to town council recommendation, nothing. Refused endorsing the town council recommendation. Approved contrary to the counter, nothing. So endorsing the town council's recommendation, we got all five. So
Negative, that's not.
yes, yes.
Get the right answers.
Yes. Okay,
Listen.
moving on, we come to planning appeals. At the following decision, there's one in Quentin Road, household application for inspections, 2-storey passage, the town council had no objections to voted, appeal dismissed. So that was 49.
The last one.
That was the last one, yes, yeah. Okay. Prior approval application, this type of application requires consultation with adjoining neighbours. So that was 86 to 88 Headley Road. I think this one comes up with a licensing application later on, which is the old Just Tiles, which comes up with an application for a license later on in the agenda. So we'll look at it then. And again, 71 Crockenwell Road. Objecting sign, 71. Do we know, was 71 Crockenwell?
Nationwide.
Was it nationwide? Yeah, they were
The picture was nationwide, so
right.
that's who-
Okay. Item 10, tree preservation orders. Any issues there that anybody has any concerns about? No, okay. Item 11, Woking Borough Council's IEMD transport regulation. There's a list on Appendix 11, and there are some that obviously are of interest to us. Appendix 11, there are fantastic.
Page 24.
25. Yeah, right. One that I'm aware of is Coleman's-Moor Road, and this came about because a number of residents put a petition in asking for double yellow lines to be outside their houses on parking, and it was particularly prevalent during COVID when people were parking there to take their dogs for a walk through the entrance on Coleman's-Moor. Yes, yeah. There are a number of objections, and I mean, there's been 22 objections because I think there's a lot of concern on that one about people that they're just moving the problem further down the road. And of course, we've got a problem further down the road anyway with the Masonettes because they've got nowhere to park anyway. So it's just going to jam up.
I think it's an additional issue for people at that end of Coleman's-Moor. If you're going up it on the left, their drives are really steep. And when people park either side of the drive, effectively you're coming out of it almost blind.
Yeah.
And that is what they were exercised about.
Right.
Funny enough, I was up there this week and people got very strong views, but half of them are for and half of them are against.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's,
But I think that, you know, a lot of the people will, some of the residents will be against it because they realise if they've got visitors at any time, their visitors won't be able to park. So, you know, they've got a problem.
They've got quite big drives, but I noticed on the documentation we had through, it said they're going to withdraw it to allow further investigations of parking in the road. So there may be some other options. Because when the chap came down from Highways to look at it, I mean, this was the proposal he came up with, the yellow lines, but he said there's another option is that they can paint white lines across people's drives, and they said they haven't got any legal sort of value, but it does stop people or puts a lot of people off parking too close to your drive. So there may be some other options. But again, a lady I was speaking to at the weekend was saying she was in favour of not having the yellow lines because she said the parked cars stop people tearing down the road at speed.
Yeah.
So that might be somewhere, David, where you can go with a gun.
The police will generally tell you, certainly, but not be on the beat if you can find one. I will tell you the best way to control speeding is park lights.
Yeah. So it's, but as I say, it is dangerous coming out of those drives. I mean, we, as you all know, I'm not a very good driver anyway, but I would be taking life in my hands.
If you had a drop curb and somebody parked across your drop curb, it was an offence.
That's right. Yeah.
So there should really be no need for.
Even if you park across your own drop curb.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the police won't do anything about it.
No, it's not police matter, it's the civil parking.
Yeah.
They won't even come out.
I understood it was an offence.
No.
It was taken over by the borough when the borough took over the
Yeah.
W lines and all that.
What the offence is obstruction.
Isn't it
So
something to do?
obstruction is a catch-all, and it's a catch-all from both directions, i.e. you can catch everything.
Yeah.
Or you can deny everything.
But isn't it something to do with if you're already on your drive and you've got a drop curb and you can't get out, then that's quite serious.
Yes, obstructing the
But
highway.
if you're already coming home and getting, it's a pain,
Yeah.
but not serious.
Yeah.
So I think
And-
if it's
and
that
the-
way,
The white
Yeah.
lines, June, you have to pay, I think, currently about £200 for that.
All right. Well,
There is an option,
Yeah,
there is
that-
another cash.
yeah, that was one of the things he
He was
suggested.
basically
But I mean, it
well.
is bad to the point as well. One of the ladies down that end was telling me she came home and somebody had actually parked in her drive. And when they rocked up back to the car, she said, you parked in my drive. Well, I wanted to take my dog for a walk. Oh, right, okay.
Now that's a civil matter.
So the only other one on there is Kingfisher Drive. Any comments, anybody aware of any problems there, or I mean, there's been one objection, so.
I think the other one came through without objection.
Yeah. Okay, right. Where are we? 12, thank you very much, I'm losing myself. Premises licence applications, this is to consider new premises licence received by Wellington Council for 86 to 88 Headley Road. This is the Just Tiles, which is going to be a Nisa supermarket.
Otherwise known as the co-op.
Co-op, yes, yeah.
Is there any-
Yeah.
What are we going to call the roundabout then? That's the key thing, isn't it?
Just
Yes,
like the Black Boy Round.
yeah.
Which will always be a Black Boy Round.
Or Helas.
I mean, this is really, they've asked for, what was it, 11th of January, so we've got until 2 days if we had any comments that.
It's an excellent idea, community asset.
Also, it'd be a bit perverse as the wine rack, which is just closed, was just next door, wasn't it? So
That's right.
why would we turn it down?
It used to be an international stores, didn't it?
Right, okay. Okay, so we're okay with that one, and this one, which is the Morrison's Daily, which was formerly McCall's. Comments should have been in by the 22nd of December. No objections received to that one, regarding that one, so that again has gone through. Right. Okay, item 13, revised estimates, 2023-24, and budget estimates. Don't know who wants to lead on this one, Rich. Matthew.
I did write a report, very similar to previous years. What we've done is we've obviously provided a report with the revised estimates and the budget estimates for future years. Revised estimates haven't obviously changed since we updated you all probably back in November as to the final amounts paid against this year's budget, which is obviously the annual grants that were approved last year, so that was all approved. This year we have received 10 applications for annual grants. You will have received confidential for your information only the full grant information. A summary of those has been provided in this report. We had 7 last year, up to 10 this year. The total amount this year being requested for those grants is 57,639. That's an increase on current year's budget of £19,114 that was spent this year. Other than the information in the report, the recommendations in that are that members note the report, that you approve the revised budget estimates for the 2023-24 financial year, that you consider the grant applications against the guidelines, which will form the budget for next year, and following that consideration, that you then recommend that budget for 2024-25 to the Strategy and Resources Committee.
Yes, sorry. This isn't part 2, is it?
No,
No.
just check.
Oh, right, you did, okay.
All right.
Yeah.
True?
No, that's correct. The confidential documents
Yes,
are other
okay.
information.
Yeah.
This is.
So, in my mind, we need to treat this in 2 steps. First one is to set the budget. We know how much money we've got to spend. And then the second one is to look at the individual grants. Because the budget, if we gave through these, what I call the large grants system, approved every single one, that balloons the budget, almost doubles it, which is not sustainable, basically. So I would like to put a proposal on the table about, as a way of maybe we can satisfy all these £57,000 worth of requests without actually increasing the budget. What I would like to say is we have now got, at least for the foreseeable future, a youth grant budget of £30,000 this year, and I assume it'll carry through to next year. So if we went back to what we used to be doing for the large grant budgets for 30,000, put the two together, 60,000, right? So when we look at the requests, about £18,000 worth of the requests for what I call the large budget, the one we have decided tonight, could actually be satisfied from the youth grant budget.
So we'll have spent it then on something else, so.
No. So let me give you an example. ARC, right? Their grant is for youth-related work. So that grant should be referred to the youth grant budget. So it's just coming out of a different pot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So what I would suggest is that we set a budget of 30,000 for this large grant budget. And then when we go through, if that's approved, when we then go through the actual applications, we can say, and I'll use ARC again, because I support ARC 100%, and I want to give them their money, if I can, this is personal. We would then, as a committee, to say that grant application would be referred to the youth grant. Have I explained it?
Yeah.
Bill, if I could ask a key question through the chair, why then is ARC on this list and not on the youth list now?
Because the youth grant was set up sort of a third of the way or halfway through the current year. And so therefore it was a new system. ARC had already got their £5,000 through the large grant budget for last year. So it's a timing issue that caused that.
So I've got two kind of questions. So one is around just setting a budget. And so if we said grant requests, we're going to set at 30 grand, just out of interest, what does that mean on the precept, you know, for what people in Woodley pay? Because when we say it's not sustainable, I can't kind of get, I don't understand, you know, I haven't got any picture of.
About a pound per head in layman's terms.
No.
No, but that's kind of what I'm looking at, because, you know, if we're talking about that sort of, you know, a pound. It's not very
Per
much.
head, not per household, though.
Right, per head,
Please
right.
said it would be per household.
So to answer, Chair, can I answer the question? Is, I think what you've got to do is look at it in the round. You've got to look at the whole expenditure of the town council. You can't just cherry pick. So for instance, the staffing costs, the national insurance costs, they've gone up dramatically for the council, and they have to be funded somehow.
Well, yes, but that's from the precept, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, it's not actually.
Well,
And
yes.
the precept covers 50%,
Well, it's-
60% maybe.
All of it is a combination of precept and income generation.
But the precept
Ah, right,
alone.
so it's about 50-50 then, is it, precept and income generation?
Probably not far off.
All right, okay, yeah, okay, that's interesting. But what I'm saying is that when we say it's unsustainable, what do we mean?
What I meant was, right? Having a budget of 58,000, when we've, even last year, we had 38,000, so that's an extra 20,000. Okay,
Yeah,
and then having a budget of 30,000 and 25 of it's not used is not sustainable.
sorry, you've lost me the last
Right.
bit about not using it.
Because that's why I said you've got to look at it in the round, okay? The priority or the objective is look at the applications. If we think the application is worthy of a grant, where is the most appropriate budget, grant budget, that should pay for? And what I'm saying is ARC, which, as I said, I'm a strong supporter.
Well, I don't think there's anything on here that we'd say, you know,
well,
people are wasting your time, are you? But yes, well, obviously, we could probably all rank them.
So the objective is, if we say, we want them to have the budget, right? Whether it comes out of what I call the large grant budget or the youth budget, frankly, I don't care, as long as I get the money.
Well, that brings
And
on
that's then, and then that is.
that brings me
budgeted
on to
for.
my second point, is haven't we got a working group that are looking at the youth provision?
Yeah.
And are they working with this budget at the moment?
The budget was this year's budget assigned,
So
for
it's
the
carried
27 plus the 3 was this year's budget assigned for youth services. But as it was aware that we would not be providing youth services in this year, that budget was moved into an earmarked reserve to be spent on grants as applied. That earmarked reserve carries forward into future years if it goes unspent this year, so it's protected. What had happened in the previous year was budget was assigned for youth service, wasn't spent and ended up getting lost back into general reserve. So that £30,000 pot put in an earmarked reserve and assigned for youth grants. So we've had 2 youth grant applications considered so far, and £5,000 have gone. We have another youth grant that's come in to be considered at the next Leisure Services, which is next Tuesday. So that would leave, if that is approved, that request is for £2,500. That would leave £22,500 in that pot for youth grants.
Which is so by if we took this route, we wouldn't be kind of prejudging what the subcommittee is going to come up with in terms of what they want to do.
That's a separate matter.
Right, okay. So basically that 30 grand has already been kind of lost to us providing a youth service. That's
yes, so that pot is for Leisure Services to consider awarding grants out of, and then make a recommendation to Strategy and Resources who make the final decision on that.
All right, so if that's already been decided, we're not taking, and we did, as he suggested, then we're not prejudging what the subcommittee want to do about providing new services generally.
Completely separate at the
Okay,
moment
cool.
from that.
Got it.
Can I just very quickly, just to add a rider to that? The implication is you're saying that for the next fiscal year, we just got 22,000 in the earmark reserves. The budget for youth services provision is 30,000 every single year.
Yeah,
Regardless whether it's been used or not. So that's why I was using the 30,000, sorry.
Carol, personally.
Yeah, but we've had endless discussions about the youth budget, so what's it for and how much, and obviously fighting to make sure that it doesn't get lost each year. So we've moved on. Just a little bit concerned. I know in terms of numbers, this all pans out, but I think there is a definite criteria for that youth budget that when people apply for it, that's looked at and decided upon. Whereas what we're doing here is almost circumventing that. I mean, if this committee agreed that ARC should now apply for a grant to leisure services for the youth budget, I can see that that makes sense. But, and of course, we're very close to the end of the financial year and unlikely to spend the youth budget, but that doesn't matter because it's being taken forward. So I just think it's a matter of drawing lines as to which money is for which pot. And so I think it's a matter of process. I agree with what Keith is saying about ARC, etc. And obviously, when you look at the figures, they don't add up because there's too much, in these grants compared with the budget. But I think we need to have a better process to allow some money to be used to try and give these grants out. That makes sense.
So what happens though if we then set up a youth services that's then going to want to have that £30,000?
That money is already earmarked for youth grants, so when that youth service is being considered in the next financial year, there will be another budget set for next year, £30,000 that they can take that from. They may well consider a completely different size project, which will require a completely different funding. So that pot that was agreed for this year, the 23-24, has become an earmarked reserve for youth grants. So that will remain until it is spent.
Thank you.
Okay.
And you can answer that without moving your lips, Keith.
Can I just add to that is that if and when we get to a situation where we actually commission somebody, an organisation, etc., to provide those youth services, that's a whole new ballgame. And there will have to be significant discussion from leisure services, strategy and resources, etc. And it may well be that the youth grant that we have at the moment just gets closed to any new entrants, and then we work out how we manage that process. But I don't want to preempt that because who knows what the Youth Services Working Party is going to come up with, if anything.
That's fine. I think we questioned it.
Yeah. Good. Okay, and we have to recommend.
Yeah.
So can I propose that we set the budget at 30,000?
I second.
You're a second. All those in favour?
Sorry.
Setting it at 30,000.
The large
grants.
Yeah, the large grants.
Okay,
What
so
I call the traditional grants,
so instead of the 50, well, we're talking about a 30,000 budget.
Yep.
To from which there's a claim for 57,000. Okay. Interesting.
Yep, those in favour?
Yeah. So that's 7-4.
Those against? And those abstaining? Yes. Okay, thank you very much. And on we go.
We still need to decide now on how much and which is grant recipients will be receiving money.
Yes.
Since we've now set that, my view is the following applications should be referred to the youth grant, with or without an endorsement of ourselves. I don't know whether we want to go to that step. But the ones I'm talking about is ARC, First names, children.
Yep.
Yep. Yes. First names, children's charity. I think Home Start is also a children one. And parenting special charge.
Home Start, it's not purely for children, is it?
No.
Children and families,
Yeah.
families with,
Families,
preschool children.
it's people with, it's mainly single parents with children.
But
Right.
children are involved. It's
Yeah.
the single parents are struggling with the, it's not single parent, it's not
It's not
single
single parent.
person. So those are the ones I had. Parenting.
18,263.
Sorry, did you say the parenting special children as well?
Yes. It has to be there to get the money under the 30,000, doesn't it? Without cutting any of the others.
Well, we've got to 40 at the moment, or my maths wrong.
5,000, 5,100, 5,660, 2,500 equals 18,260.
58 take 18 is 40. So we've got to lose another 10.
Oh, yeah, good one.
Can we not lose some from chemo gift bags?
Right, so.
This is why we
I
don't
think,
do what they want.
Chairman, I think we need to
Can we-
vote on my proposal about the children one. Moving out, so that the group is. Agreement.
I
Yeah,
suppose my
okay.
only concern about that is that say we lob it over to leisure and they say they disagree with it and they don't get anything at all.
That's always a risk, that's a risk,
That's always a risk.
it's a risk here.
It's always a risk when you apply for any grants. No matter what.
Well-
I'm on leisure due.
Well, it's just, looking at, and there's some of the most vulnerable groups we're not going to get involved in, as it were, and you just think, oh, that disappears without trace.
So, look, he said then, should we as a group endorse to the Leisure Services Committee that we would, well, endorse it, to support these donations, please bear that in mind. Because that could then add into the criteria of that committee for,
Yes, because the sooner they spend it, the better.
yeah.
There's not really anything sitting.
I'm
in,
quite happy to support, if you're okay with that,
Yes, please.
to make that as a proposal.
Mhm.
But those ones I highlighted, we refer it to leisure services, but with the fact that we support their grant. But it can still be down to the leisure services committee to do things.
Is that right, Matthew? You looked at it.
No, that's absolutely fine. I suppose my consideration would be, or I would suggest you obviously consider the fact that the applications that you will consider under here obviously are more than the amount that you have got to offer. The amount that you are sending over is, yes, so if you are fully endorsing them, that's absolutely fine. Leisure Services may well consider that as the full amount. So it's a different consideration because you're going to presumably either knock down a few of these or consider a few of them because your budget pot is smaller. With moving those over to the youth grant pot, which is larger, they might agree them fully. It's just being aware of that.
Yes.
And as long as you're aware and you're happy with that decision, then that's fine.
Okay, yes, Carol.
I think this is the difficulty of the process. We've now made a decision about the 30,000, which to me, when we look at the 23-24 amount, it was 38,000. So we're cutting that budget. 38,525 is very close to the 40,000 that we're the difference of. But it's too late now because we haven't gone through that process. But to me, it would be sensible to increase the 23-24 budget in of 38,525 to 40,000 and put the children's bits to the leisure services, which we've just agreed. But instead, we seem to be cutting a budget. So, but maybe I'm missing something.
That is a basic assumption there, Carol, that we're going to approve every single application.
It is a basic. We have to start
And
somewhere.
we generally, I don't think I can remember ever, every single application will get approved. So the next step now would be to go through the ones that are remaining and collectively decide which ones would have been approved which ones, how much we're going to approve. Because in the past, we haven't always approved exactly what the applicant has requested.
I think that's what Carol was saying though.
I was just going to suggest that the only other alternative approach potentially to it is to consider these as annual grants. Leisure services can consider the youth grants. And when it comes to the budget setting, Stratton Resources have a power to consider which budget that may come from and could then choose if there was to lower the budget or pull money across from that earmarked reserve to fund the additional youth elements of this service if they so wish. So it could be that Stratton Resources make that ultimate decision.
Well, we have made a formal decision, it's 30,000. And we've approved it. Let's not reopen it and go around.
The next question then was going to be, suppose we go through this list and say, right, we want to spend £38,000. Can we grab £8,000 from somewhere else?
I think it's dangerous in prejudging. Because there's one on here, for instance, that the Wigan participation is 20. Yeah, they're asking for nearly £5,500 for 20.
But notwithstanding what we're about to discuss and go through, if we wanted to spend £38,000, could we spend £38,000?
We certainly can make that recommendation afterwards.
Would that answer your query, Carol?
It's the obvious thing, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that needs to be made clear that if we did justify extra money, that we could get hold of it should we need to.
Because basically we've made a call on 30 grand just arbitrarily.
Yeah.
Without looking at what we've done.
Well, that's the way budget setting. You set a budget and then you fit things to the budget. You don't fit the budget to the things.
You don't set your budget arbitrarily.
Tell my gas bill.
You set a budget by working out how much you want to spend, also what you have to spend. You know, you don't make your household budget up by saying, I'm going to spend a tenner on food this week. Do you work out about what I'm going to eat, what I need to eat, how many people I've got to feed, and that's roughly so and so.
Well, actually,
and then you go,
Actually, I think a lot of people do set the budget on how much you've got to spend.
It's gone.
and then
Well, that's it.
that's
It's
what
on
you
toast.
well, yeah, but you don't just pluck a figure out of thin air.
I think a lot of people have to.
This is what you can afford.
Anyway,
Just to say,
Anyway,
I think perhaps one principle to remember is you make a recommendation to the Strategy and Resources Committee ultimately that can take a view and do as it wishes. So
but we do want them to think we're serious people, Kenny.
yes.
So might I suggest we start off?
Yeah.
So the first, sorry.
Yeah, carry on.
I was just going to say that in the way it's laid out, the first one that would come up then would be chemo gift bags. And I've already mentioned that. You know,
Chemo gift bag, we've never actually, was chemo gift bags original? No.
Historically, chemo gift bags have
Never.
applied for the community grants and have received a £250 community grant over a number of recent years, not all the recent years, but I think it's 5 or 6 years out of the last 10. So this is the first time that they've taken the fund at applying for an annual grant.
Right.
I think they did last year, didn't they? Okay. But I personally think they should be given the £300 grant, I think it's now. Because I can't personally justify £5,500 for 20 people.
No.
Compared to some of the other here. Working through.
I tend to agree with Keith that I think that's a fight for a lot of the original. My understanding of the original thing about chemo gift bag was they were raising the money by donations for people to actually buy the specific things they wanted in the gift bags.
Yeah, a lot of the contents are donated anyway, aren't they?
Yeah.
The bags there, I know it's in the application, the contents cost them £100. So
Yeah.
so each bag costs them
Back
£100
to us
to procure.
for that amount of money. If the contents are costing £100, they could spare up 60 bags. right? And they, according to the information, they don't supply that many pets.
Okay. Yeah, I think,
So I would propose that one is referred to individual again,
yeah,
that they might reckon anybody else believes.
yeah, I think that, well. Anybody else agree with that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. What other one?
Citizens.
Citizens' advice. Citizens' advice are in a bit of a mess at the moment, I think, aren't they? So do we support them even more because of that, or
Well,
do we worry?
My own view is that we should give them 7,000 that we had last year.
which means they could do less this year than.
They're going to do a lot, I'd say, because the borough's pulled out.
Yeah.
But that's another thing.
Well, I would be in favour of giving them what they asked for.
Ready, boss?
So,
But,
can I make a suggestion,
Yeah.
process-wise? If there is one that there is a dispute, can we park it and
yeah,
get through the ones that
okay,
there isn't a dispute? Then we can work out what.
right, okay,
So see what
so
we've got left.
Yeah.
working down,
Keep mobile.
keep
Yeah.
mobile. Where are we? Yeah, that's 5,290,
Well,
and then that's quite an increase on what we've done in the past, isn't it?
what I did, Chair, is looked at because they don't track the number of Woodley residents, what they track is the number of trips. And I looked at the Keep Mobile trips for Woodley residents, and I compared it to Redibus trips for Woodley residents. And Keep Mobile, according to the documents, is 4,096. Redibus is 4,894. So they're roughly the same. Yeah, we've been giving Keep Mobile, I think it was
It's 1,500.
yeah, 2,100. And
Yeah,
we were
yes,
giving 17,000 to Redibus. I don't think that's a fair portion.
no,
It sounds like we're running the borough for ready for it.
So what I did is, I know they wanted 5,290. I actually went for 3,625, or it'd be 3,675, which is 50% increase. And I was going to freeze Redibus because they'd asked for another nearly £700. Freeze that, but raise keep mobile, not to the 5,290. Although I am open to.
I think we all argue with Keith, that surely we should keep mobile up 50%, not cut it.
But then we would have
Given that they've given us.
but it's a balance. So, if we're going to do that, then the Redibus would have to come down. And it's effectively a transference, a grant from Redibus to Keep Mobile. And if group wants to do that, I wouldn't argue against it. What does the panel think?
Well, I was always under the impression that Keep Mobile was more active in the Bracknell area. I thought
These
that
are
was-
the trips, these
those
are
are
Woodley
trips,
trips
yeah,
that
yeah.
they've actually, and that's what I based
Right,
it on.
okay.
My opinion would be that we should be giving Keep Mobile more and reducing ready bus.
I'm fine with that.
So when you say give more, go above the 5,290 that they've asked for, or give them the 5,290? Sorry, yeah, Carol.
With Linda's obviously, I think, do you use Redibus, Linda? You said-
No, I
you
don't use ready bus.
Okay.
It's really difficult if you're disabled to use either of those because they're both set up for disabled people, but the majority of their fares are from elderly people over the age of 70. That can't drive any longer.
I've always been a supporter of Keep Mobile because they're actually getting people out of their homes. And they may not be taking them to work, but they're actually keeping them going by taking them visiting and outings, if you like. So I
But
think
with ready bus, they do a lot more social trips than Keep Mobile do. And I think we should be supporting the social trips where they actually collect more than one person and take them out for an afternoon on a social outing.
Yeah,
So they may take them to a garden centre for the afternoon or something like that.
Then, I mean, if you're looking at transportation socially, people like working in volunteer centre, would you volunteer, or they do a similar scheme, don't they?
But they do things like the hospital transport, whereas Redibus and Keep Mobile aren't allowed to do the hospital transport.
Right. Okay, yeah, Robert.
Bill, what if we took last year's figures, which is about 19,400, and put it under transportation heading, if you like, and just split it in half between the two?
So Redibus and Keep Mobile.
So you give,
Yeah.
There's one major.
£9.5 to each.
There's one major problem with that. If you reduce Redibus by £9,000, you're effectively writing off Redibus.
But that's not our problem.
That's not our problem, no, I agree. But there are a lot of people in Woodley who rely on Redibus.
But the numbers suggest the same number of people rely, well, it's 800 difference, rely on Keep Mobile. And that's when I've got a variation of what, Robert, thank you, has said, is if we gave, Mobile, what they've asked for, 5,290.
Yeah.
Right, that would mean Redibus would get 14,135.
Yeah.
To keep the same.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of it's a rebalancing.
I just think we have to justify, so if a person in the community asks us why we've done this, we need to have a clear justification to that answer.
Because we've been overfunding Redibus and underfunding Keep Mobile.
Yeah.
We are still balancing it.
I
Then we
think
will still be
they
underfunding
ought
it.
to be asked to be more accountable for why they need that much money from us.
It's a vast difference.
If we cut
money.
Redibus to that extent, the bad press would be, as you say, the fact that what would we gain by it? Apart from financially, we could move it around, but
Are we comparing like with like? I mean, I don't know much about either of them. What sort of journey is there?
Similar.
No, but yeah, they are fairly similar.
Similar.
cost-wise to the public.
But the issue, just remember, Keep Mobile have only asked for 5,290. They will have done their calculations, etc. I think they're a leaner, from memory, I'll have to look at the figures, I think they're a leaner organisation.
Leaner, greener.
Redibus is more corporate, if you know what I mean.
They used to have ready buses used to back them, didn't they?
Yeah, probably.
How long has Redibus been going? Long.
So
One of the first.
I think Keep Mobile would be happy with their 5,290. We got another year coming up, we can continue this process if we want to continue it.
What's the cost of travelling on both? Are their charges
Passenger.
similar?
I think they both have to pay the same price as you would pay on public transport.
Right.
That's minus your
Travel car, what?
travel card or discount, whatever you get.
Bus pass.
Right.
Bus pass, yeah. I haven't got a bus pass. Do I let me have one?
I haven't got one because I don't want international principles.
No, you won't let me have one.
I've got one.
Okay, so your
You won't
proposal
let
then,
me have
Keith,
one.
Yeah,
is
my
that
proposal
is that we keep mobile at 5,290, which is
Yeah.
what they've requested, and Redibus we bring down.
Yes,
Yeah.
14,135. And that's basically taking this year's budget for transport and just rebalanced it.
I'll second that, Bill.
Yeah, those in favour of that? And
Yes.
7-4,
those against? Those against?
1 again.
One against, two against.
Sorry, 2 again.
Two against.
We have representation of each of those organisations to the whole council. And we could do, if we could ask them to come one meeting after the other or whatever, so we can get a wider
We understand
understanding
yeah.
of what they're providing to our constituents. I think we had one for Medibus some years ago, and I met the chairman recently, but.
So don't forget, we've actually got representation on both boards.
Yeah.
Or management committees,
Yeah,
and we shouldn't need that, we should be
Get the report
using
back.
our representation to feed back. Because they'll see behind the gloss, if you know what I mean.
I've got a meeting tomorrow morning with Reggie buses that'll keep up on one of you. Anyway, but the first notification I had of it was yesterday afternoon.
Not the best.
Right, and I'm suddenly expected to turn up tomorrow morning.
Can you just, for next time we go around this, because I wasn't aware we've got somebody on Medibus. We ought to, when we had this grant request things, we should ask whoever's amongst us, that
I'm
can
surprised you
help
weren't
us.
aware, because the first meeting, the
Well-
annual meeting, we actually allocated people.
I wasn't here for the first annual meeting. I know.
It's on YouTube, Julie.
But anyway,
And there's agenda minutes.
irrespective, I'm sure we will memorise all the other things.
There's somebody
But
speaking,
just,
can't tell your name.
just from a sort of a practical point of view, though, if we've got people amongst our members who are actually sitting on these things, it would be really helpful for them to come
It's
and
Alex,
talk to us.
it's Alex Heap, who's an ex-councillor, but he attends.
Well, it would be nice, wouldn't it? if they
Actually,
could come and talk.
even better still, it's full council, isn't it, when we get reports from.
Yeah, so anyone who's there on those management.
Should.
We don't have them on every single one of these grants. There's
No,
only-
no, but
there's
the
only
ones
a
where we
couple
have
that
it.
we do, so.
And they're meant to report back. And very rarely does all of them, There are one or two people who are fastidious and reports, but there are a lot of others, of both parties, by the way, who just don't report.
But I think in this case, I mean, because we have, was it 3 or 4 full councils, so people, right, I would do this, I won't do this. But for this, it is actually a purpose to it. So I don't see what the harm is, just to remind the people who are on to say, their grant requests are coming up at the next P&C. You might like to come and, and speak to it, and it'd be quite interesting if somebody came along and said, well, to be honest, I think they're wasting money, or to be honest, I think it looks, pretty good, what I can see. So what's the point of having them on there if we're not using that insight? And again, it does sort of direct it a bit, what sort of information we'd like to have. There's a purpose for it, rather than I went to 2 meetings and, we did this, we did that. I mean, if we said there's a purpose to it, and it will have a bearing on the grant request. There's more information, the better. How are we doing with totting up now? How much have we spent?
We've
So at the
got,
moment, we've agreed Keep Mobile at 5290, and we've agreed Redibus at 14135, which is 1945.
did we not agree chemo bags?
Yeah.
Oh,
No, no, no.
Oh, we moved that one over,
Yeah.
haven't we? Sorry, we've taken that out, so that's out.
And return to
Yes,
system.
put it on the other, yes.
Systems advice,
right.
that's systems.
Citizens advice.
You've got citizen advice, you've got link visiting and volunteer centre, is that correct?
And
Yeah,
parenting,
okay.
sorry, parenting special children. That's for youth. Yeah, sorry.
Link visiting, they've asked for 1,500, my view is we give them 1,500.
They do a very good job. Yeah.
Alright, that's another 1,500. If you can tell it.
Yes.
Please.
So I meant that big.
And the volunteer centre,
1,000.
they've asked for 1,000 up from 500. Well, they're only dealing with 64 people. So I'm minded to leave it at the 500.
Mr. Chairman, I just need to look it up, but maybe I could ask through you, Keith. 64, what, are they just coming to the volunteer centre? Or do they actually specify?
They specified that was the number of would-be residents they're
Okay.
helping.
Because
So
I,
does that deal with all the things that come under the volunteer centre umbrella, like green and tidy, etc.?
yes, if we say Green and Tidy support a large number of would-be residents.
And that's a link this can do the garden, I think.
No, quick and tidy, just go.
Teams.
Ah. I mean, we've got an insider.
So you're suggesting 500,
What they've got this year, it's just.
it's 500. Was 500 this year.
Yeah.
Just for information, within your 30,000, if you were to award the 8,000 to CAB, you've still got 1,070 left.
That's actual. Yeah. Well, if that, in that case, why don't we do both, 1,000 for volunteer centre and 8,000 for citizens home?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm quite happy to spend all 30,000.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's not our money.
So, absolutely,
Yeah, that leaves you £75.
want to keep 75 pounds something, add something. Want to keep my phone?
No. What about homestone?
That's going to leisure, I think.
Leisure, yeah.
What did we do for chemo? Gift bags?
We're
Gift
doing,
bags.
saying no to a grant here, but referring.
But that's for the
individual activity.
so they can apply for, that's right, so that's kind of
And
cross out that one.
first days, what have we done with that?
Children's, yes.
I would just leave £75 to go to general reserves, because it looks like there's chucking it on something for the sake of it.
Well,
Or link visiting.
Oh, what's
It's
that?
very
Link
good to
visiting.
spend on stuff, isn't it? Not to just sit for nothing and as
Giving the expensive what they are.
What's your?
I put it on Ready Bus or, yeah, and get a shot of it. Well,
Ready bus, yeah.
I would put it on ready bus
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
well.
Okay.
it'd be a bit harsh.
Between 2 and 10, isn't it?
So that gives them,
They're gonna take
14
to
to 10.
Yeah.
30 per month.
Right. Okay.
spent it all.
Good, I'm happy with, we've done that just.
So you can say we haven't debated this long and hard.
Right. Where are we?
Yeah, we've got the recommendations, I think, on page 53 to go through.
Oh, was it?
I've got a question on the third one.
Moment. Let's have a look at the recommendations.
Yes, we need to vote, at the end of that report, really, we need to formal vote on the approval of the revised budgets. And a formal vote on the, budget for 2024-25, which we've had.
Right, okay, we've had that vote, haven't we? Yeah. Haven't we? Yeah, so we want the revised budgets. The members recommend approval of the revised budget estimates for the 2023-24 financial year. Yes?
Yeah.
Those in favour? Sorry? Yeah.
Just that's what I was going to ask for clarification from the officers, because I voted against the 30,000. Is that bullet point 4? And I don't want to vote
Yes, I think
differently on bullet point 2, the second bullet.
I would be comfortable if we do a vote on bullet point 2, which is the revised budgets, which is the budget we spent this year and everything, and then having had the vote on the £30,000, it would now be also sensible to have a vote on those figures that were just discussed, have a formal vote on those. I can read them out before we vote on those as well.
We do need to know if we don't actually vote on these recommendations, but something the over.
I think that would really help. So so if we can just continue with that vote on the revised budgets for the current financial year.
Yeah, those in favour?
So that's the current year's figures. That's the 39 that we have spent this year. That's just a division. So yeah,
Thank you. Sorry.
That's 9. So that's unanimous.
Yep.
We've already had the vote on the £30,000, which we agreed. So then a final vote on the awarding of £8,000 to Citizens Advice £5,290 to keep mobile, £1,500 to link visiting scheme, £14,210 to Ready Bus, and £1,000 to the Woking Volunteer Centre. If you could vote on
Those in
those,
favour?
and that's unanimous again.
Okay.
You did say this was quite good.
Yes.
So reason.
Right. We've done there.
Agenda item 14, yeah.
Right, yes, agenda item 14, cycling and walking past and finish working group. To note that Councillor Edwards has been appointed as Labour Group appointment to this working group, and to the Conservative Group and advise that they believe they will be unable to appoint members to fill their 2 places on the working group due to members' existing commitments on other committees.
Can I just amend that? It's not believe, we can't.
Blood.
I was taking it from the email correspondence we had before
Yeah.
Christmas, so,
Right, there is no way.
Right.
Bill, Carol, you.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
So what happens now?
it really moves on to, the recommendations in, 14B.
Yeah, so where have they come from, those recommendations? I mean, is that our only option to go to?
If you look at B2, to replace it with Conservative group places, I think you can draw a conclusion from the Conservative group.
Well, I'm just asking.
Yes, I know.
So have we spoken to these 2 cycling groups to see if they would?
Can we deal with the other
Well,
item first?
Right.
I'm just trying to
Yeah, okay.
give a question around.
Right, so so we've noted the 2 points, 1 and 2, 14A, 1 and 2.
Chairman, we still have councillor.
Oh, sorry, Carol.
Just on item 14.2, I'm not surprised at all. What worries me is that the decision has been made by the Conservative group without any knowledge of how many meetings or when they're going to be. I can understand that they aren't interested in walking and cycling and anything to do with the climate or environment, but
Excuse me, Chairman.
is,
I think
sorry,
as
Mr. Chairman, can I finish?
ascertain
I
things
think
like
that's a
that,
point of order I
Yes,
want to raise.
because you are making a very rude conclusion when you do not know what the Conservative group think, to make a statement, which is a political statement, that the Conservative group are not interested in cycling and walking, I think is wrong.
So if I could carry on, sorry, I hoped you might have stopped that interruption, Mr. Chairman, but just to say that, you know, we are where we are with this one, and I think it's a very sad indictment that that is the case without any consideration of once we know how many meetings there would be. So it was just a comment I wanted to make, and I don't think, say, making that decision ahead of time is probably not, was not what I would do. Certainly I'd find out what the meetings involved first before I made that decision, but I'm not surprised.
Okay.
Can I go back to my question now? So the way this works then is that we've agreed that we're having a cycling strategy. We've agreed that we would have a working group, but we're unable to man it, which is unfortunate. But my understanding is we've got to have a minimum of 4 people or 4 people on that. Is that right? Have they got to be 4 people?
You need to have a minimum of 3 or a third, whichever is the higher number. So in this case, you need a minimum of 3. As soon as you go up to sort of 9 members,
Yeah.
10,
Okay.
11, it then becomes 4. But
So in this particular instance, we've got Yvonne and Carol who are keen to do that. So we just need 1 more councillor, and and this is a runner, yeah?
yes, in terms of reference are approved to change.
Yeah, all around the.
Yes, but then we're already disregarding political proportionality as was approved at the last meeting for this terms of reference.
So
yes.
what I'm saying is that if I said I would go on it with Yvonne and Carol, is that acceptable?
No, because the decision was made for you can't change a decision unless there's 6 months passage of time.
Okay,
It's in the standing orders. Whether you like it or not, it's in the standing orders. because otherwise you'll be changing
Yes,
it.
but we made a decision that we were going to
Be
have.
too conservative.
Yes, exactly, and then, but if at that point, the assumption was that the Conservative members would honour that. So, I mean, this is just,
I've got my big stick out, I'm going to stir now. Why don't you join Reading Cycle Club, Jimmy?
we're not having a fight, probably. It just would seem a sort of, you know, an easier kind of solution. And have we spoken to Reading Cycling Club and what have you? Are they quite keen to get involved then?
No conversations have had with them, because until this is either agreed or thrown away or not agreed, it would be pointless
Well,
having that conversation.
Talking about
This was
rudeness, that
Right.
that is rather actually rude, isn't it? Involving two outside organisations to say, oh, they could come and do this, and we haven't even had the convo. I mean, I don't know what it says in standing orders, but just common sense would suggest that if we wanted to do something on the cycling strategy, which we have published in the Herald and told everybody that we're committed to, if we were committed to that, it would just seem, I'm just looking at this as, if we are committed to it, well, if we're not, then we need to get another Herald out and say, oh, sorry, change your mind on that one. But if we are, then surely what we should be doing is looking at how can we do that effectively. And let's just, you know, get this in perspective. We're not talking about, you know, trying to negotiate peace settlement in Gaza. We're talking about looking at some of the, yes, anything that we can do, as we discussed at the last meeting, to leverage the work that's already being done by Borough to further walking and cycling strategy. So I don't quite understand why we'd want to hide behind this in all sorts of red tape, when actually we just want to get a bit of work done. And we're going to come up, you know, we said we come up with a list, bring it back to this committee, see if, you know, people are kind of behind it. And if so, do some work. And if not, don't. But it just seems that we've kind of sat on it before it started.
Thank you, Bill. I just realised something. Maybe I should have declared a declaration of interest. I'm a life member of Reading Cycling Campaign, and I'm a member of the Reading Cycling Club as well, because I'm one of those fit Tory people. Fit, fat, one of the two.
I'm pleased to hear it. And you offered to be on the committee at the last meeting.
Well, I didn't offer to be on the committee at the last meeting. I said it was, I think it was, it's, you, trying to think what I said or how it was said at the last meeting. I suggested, or it was suggested, we didn't actually need to set up a subcommittee. We actually said that a group of councillors and the others could go away, sit down, have a cup of coffee, and come up with some plan, cycle strategy, and come back to this committee where we, as a group, are accountable to the public and the council as a whole, and come up with some ideas. Because here we are again, 6 months down the line, and we're still discussing setting up a little subcommittee.
If, you know, somebody had come on, you know, just one more person had come on the committee, that's effectively what it would be. You know, I don't understand.
But we would then be
make it unnecessarily complicated.
I've been on council business at 6 o'clock tonight for the Zoom, and then ran over here for this meeting. Now, if we had a subcommittee for this, we'd have to have officers there. It'd all have to have all this extra, another layer of paperwork involved. And having done the subcommittee before, certainly chaired one meeting, it was just, which we're getting to now, really, a bit of a talking shop. And I just think it's a non-starter.
But if that was the case, that we could have done it at meetings, why did nothing happen? I mean, but anyway, I mean, if we're at an impasse here and saying that basically we can't have this subcommittee, how do we undo the decisions we've made? I mean, how do we tell the people of Woodley that our commitment to the cycling strategy is just so much hot air? Anyway, just serious question, how do we do this now?
Can I just ask Linda, you wanted to make a point, I believe.
No, excuse me, Chair. Do you mind if I'm excused, please? Because I've not been driving because I've been quite ill. So my lift is quite.
Oh, right, yeah, no, that's fine.
Okay,
Yeah.
sorry.
See you next time.
Can I just say, all right,
I've put a couple of envelopes for it there.
Thank you.
so we can't.
Just to clarify on the 6 month rule and that side of it. The 6 month rule is, refers to a resolution of the council, so a council resolution. It also refers to motions in the terms of reference. It doesn't necessarily refer to the recommendation, which is what that's not a motion, that's a recommendation of standing orders. Motions can only be submitted by councillors, not. So it suggests that still could be amended by a resolution of this committee if they wished to make that change.
So, I actually, last meeting, agreed with what Robert was saying, and you can remember it, he said, the two of you, I was on the phone, and I said, Carol and yourself, who were being very vocal about this because you're passionate about it, should go and just put together a list. And if you remember, I was shot down in flames because Carol said, I've already done this, and this, that, and the other, etc. So we've tried to move it forward. The Conservative group cannot start this. There isn't two
But that's what I'm
people.
saying to you, that's fine.
So what we came up with is actually, rather than put someone, say for instance, me, who's not a cyclist, I haven't been a cyclist since I was about 16.
But you walk.
So, as I said, I'm not a cyclist, and the bulk of this is about cycling, whether we like it or not, it is. And therefore, this was a way of getting around this impasse. And what better way of filling the group than with people, or I'm always going to call them professional or semi-professional cyclists. I'm quite happy to approach them. I am sure I could get somebody from both of those, the campaign and the cycling club, to be engaged in this, because why wouldn't they? You know, but
I mean, right.
and that was a way of trying to move it forward.
Well,
Can I just ask Bhavinder his hand up for a while?
Well, sorry, interrupting you. The thing is because I believe everyone knows that last year, we discussed it in the last meeting as well, and especially the cycling, because this is a very critical issue. And now when I saw, oh, this is cycling, walking task, and finishing working group. So was this it means we are stopping this one, or we are going to just close this file, or what's the?
I think what we're trying to do is to come with a solution, to say how we can put the right number of people onto the committee, the best people on to deal with it. That's what we're trying to do, to keep it.
Yeah, that's the reason, because when we discussed last time as well, there was already agreed with, okay, we are going for the next steps, and then we need to find a solution. But still, now it's coming to the finish working group, so it's kind of like it's going to close the door.
I think that the term task and finish is what's confusing Bhavinder here, because it's task and finish, meaning it's got an end date. It's not that they're finishing the group at the moment, it's still got to happen.
Yeah, that's good, but this looks really better, different when it's showing that one. Anyway, well, I believe, I think this is other hand when we highlight for the especially for the local people and local council and local, if someone is really interested, might be some someone wanna do work on charity, some cycling and the walking and the dollar, like normally we do the Reading marathon and the dollar.
I think someone can come if we but advertise on our local Woodley concert. So if might be someone can come and try, oh yes, we are here to support as well, and blah, blah. So we can go for that.
Okay. So your suggestion is that we advertise for the position
Yeah,
of joining the
at
committee.
least
Yours
because
is that we
it-
bring in two professionals from
That we approach
organised groups.
Either I approach
Yes.
or Matthew
Matthew
approaches them. Because I'm pretty convinced there'll be someone who's Woodley based, who's a passionate cyclist. Could even cover the walking side, because there are various organisations, like, for instance, Mary from, oh God, she did.
Mary Walker.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, no, this was a mechanism to try to move it forward.
Hmm.
And I'm not wedded to say two cycling or one, and it's giving up our places, it's not asking you to give up your places. To move this forward.
can I suggest then that the approach has been made to those two groups? See what we can actually bring from those, and if that's not successful, then we go out to find local people of interest.
Chairman,
First of
can
all-
we put it to the vote, Chairman? 'Cause I think we're just going to go around all evening.
A vote on what? That we
On-
actually approach
Item two,
item two,
Yeah.
right?
I propose item two.
I'll second item 2.
And those in favour?
5-4.
Right.
We do against an abstention.
I'm sorry, yeah, those against?
And as a point of personal explanation why I'm against it is that we've chosen two groups that we've no idea if they're applicable. There's others in Wokingham where we've got the cycling sort of plans that are going ahead. So I'm not against replacing two Conservatives, but I am against choosing these two clubs and without any discussion about others.
Well, one of the major points brought up in the last cycling committee was the cycle route between Woodley and Reading.
Yeah.
Now, who is more appropriate to discuss that than someone from Reading Cycling Club or Reading Cycling Campaign?
I through you, Mr. Chairman, that assumes that
Anyway,
people in Reading want to come this way.
Chairman, yeah, both of you, right, yeah.
Right.
We added an end date.
We do need to agree on end dates.
Number
An end
1,
date
item
for
1, B1,
Fine, yeah.
to add an end date of the group's activities.
So just
Well, they haven't started yet.
just to explain what, in the standing order, something that's been omitted from the last few working groups we've set up this municipal year. The standing orders 8.2F say that a task force working group must have an end date added, which specifies the expected end date of their activities. Now, we've got more committees to go to leisure next week for the same thing. The recommendation is that is set the day after a meeting of this committee, in order that this committee can consider those activities if they haven't finished and extend that end date if needs be, or agree
So
with
it's
it.
right, okay, and then our next item on the agenda is we can discuss how many angels you can get on the head of a pin.
Generally between them.
Yes.
Can I explain why the?
No, not really, no,
Okay.
really, but honestly, really, it's quite obvious what the intention of this is. Oh, moving swiftly on.
So our end date, you're proposing January the 10th?
Sorry, I shouldn't be. I would say the meeting after the annual meeting.
I'll check the date on that for you. So the meeting after is on the 21st of May, so you're suggesting the 22nd of May?
22nd of May, because we can extend it. We would have had the annual meeting.
I mean, you know, anything you like.
So
sure.
it's a date in the sand dune. We
I know, right, so why are we spending so much time talking about that when we could talk?
because it's local politics, and that's what we do.
Yes,
Okay, so we're not happy with the end date being the 22nd.
Wrong word.
delirious, delirious.
Can't consent.
Right. We move on now. Where are we?
I've got to 15.
Yeah, I'm on to 15. Yep. Early station footbridge, are there any further updates?
Just if I can add to this, so since the item was last on the agenda, which was the 23rd of May, I provided an update to everyone. We had an email from the Director of Highways on the 6th of November, which is included in the agenda. I've chased them up since, and I had a response on the 2nd of January, which, actually, sorry, not the 2nd of January, 4th, which has confirmed that the latest inspection took place in December, and there were no safety concerns raised. I asked again for them to, the next inspection is due in March. I asked them what is the plan that they have in place that they're discussing with Network Rail. I've asked them that a couple of times because whilst they've said that they need to discuss with Network Rail, they haven't actually indicated what the actual plan is. And the response was, Woking have engaged Network Rail to establish available track possessions. Please note this is a lengthy and robust process to be followed up, and various information will have to be provided to Network Rail. So again, that doesn't provide us with any information what the plan is. And I have again asked, can you let us know what you are planning that you are asking them? And I haven't had a response.
Next a question. If they can reply and say there are no safety issues, what are we talking about?
Upgrade to provide disabled access.
Not anything to do with safety?
That's the main thing.
About all the lumps of concrete before.
Probably of it, yeah.
Historically, they brought forward the reviews to every 3 months because they know the bridge is in a state of relative disrepair. They're obviously checking on the safety to ensure that as soon as it gets to the point of being completely unsafe, they will stop the use of it. And that's why over the last 2.5 years, there have been those discussions of what to do. So clearly, I think the last time they indicated to us that they would undertake maintenance works rather than replacement. But we're still trying to find out exactly what those works they are planning are.
But it seemed to me that there was no solution to overcome the disability issue. So
just a couple of things, then can we ask them formally that in the event of it becoming unsafe, could we be aware of what the contingency plan would be around that? And the second thing is, the point that you were making, and not getting very far with them about what the plan is, if we could just say our interest in that is because we're, at our next meeting, we'll be considering the WBC travel plan. And obviously, as we discussed at the last meeting, the Reading travel plan refers to a desire to use early station more, and this would have a bearing on the ability to put more traffic through that. So that's why we want to know. It's not just curiosity, it's to inform our consideration of
Can we
that.
ask for an officer to come here and present to us?
Well, to be honest, I mean, all this is, that's great, it takes time off and what have you. I mean, what's he going to do? Come and read something he's already got. So if they can just write down something and tell us.
You can probe, you can ask the questions. Whereas this is is like a 2D versus 3D.
But it's,
What's the legality of the bridleway? Because it's where do you take your horse if they close the bridge?
It's a worry, Rob, isn't it?
It is,
Yes, yeah, I'm using sleepover.
So if they close the bridge, they've lost the bridleway, and that is,
well, I mean, that's, I suppose it's a force majeure and something would have to happen, but that's why I'm interested in what the contingency plan is.
Because the disabled access was going to be a great big ramp, wasn't it, all around the car park? And then they found a gas pipe or something.
Which this way, the gas pipe, isn't it?
Yeah, and they lose 50% of the car park.
But
Tunnel.
I don't think it's unreasonable, though, that as local councillors, we should know. I mean, why is it a secret?
Because I don't think they know.
Well, that's fair enough then, isn't it? I mean, just say we don't know yet.
Solution
Says we have a plan in
to getting
place.
disabled people across the bridge. So whatever they say they're waiting for.
But that bridge has been there since 1972.
But then you would only be able to go into Reading anyway, because how would you get your wheelchair onto the?
Bridge is where you have to go into Reading and change and come back. And if you're coming from Reading, you have to go to Woking and cross and come back. It's, yeah.
But again, this is all the sort of stuff that is in the travel plan, and it's, and a lot of what's in the travel plan, isn't it, is not about, you know, what we're going to do tomorrow, it's where we're trying to get to, so it's all germane to understanding that, so it's not an unreasonable question, and I don't think it's unreasonable for people to say, well, we haven't decided yet, fine, okay, we know that, but just keep faffing around with it. It's again.
Well, I think the first thing is to ask them, you know, for the latest update, what their plans are to deal with the disabled issue, because whether they're going to repair it or not, carry out repairs to it, it's not going to solve the disability issue. So what's their plan, long-term plan to solve that?
Usually, June, when you get this amount of faffing around, is that there are some solutions, but none of them are acceptable, either from a cost perspective, a loss of something perspective.
But the thing is with all of this is that that's real life, isn't it? You can't have everything you want, so we just need facts, and then we make calls and then explain to our constituents why we're doing things, you know. So it's just a really kind of strange way of treating our, you know, people who live in Wokingham, really, as though they're all idiots. But anyway, moving on, I don't think it's an unreasonable question. So I'd like to know that they have a contingency plan, even if it's just they've got a couple of big signs that say walk down the road and go through the underpass. But I'd like to think that they have got a contingency plan in place, should it become unusable.
Okay. Okay, let's move on. Item 16, transportation and highways. An update on the council's community speed watch.
Yeah, very quickly, June and I have agreed to meet next Wednesday, when we will go through the camera operation, and hopefully we can look at one or two roads at the same time, because we're going to be very specific as to where we choose.
I think that's step one, isn't it? Is getting some locations to a certain extent. Doesn't really matter where they are. We just need to go and practice for a bit, don't we?
But I apologise, but circumstances have dictated it to be impossible for us to get together earlier. So, but that's all arranged for next Wednesday.
Thank you. Highway issues, any highway issues that members wish to bring to our attention? No. Okay, community issues. I don't discuss any recent community issues. Yes.
I'd just like to congratulate Councillor Jewell on her repair cafe. I'm glad it went well.
Great
It's an addition to, you know, for our local community.
Have you got many expertise there?
Yes, a very wide range of teddy repairers to bike repairers to anything to do with electrics. So I had 17 fixers there, 5 or 6 volunteers, and over 30 people attended.
Really?
So, yeah, it went very well.
So when's the BBC TV programme going to be there?
Well, my fear was last week sometime that people were expecting the repair shop,
Yes.
rather than the repair cafe.
Yes.
And we've had a few people suggesting I've got an antique, could I bring it on? No. So yes, we are what we are, and hopefully we'll go from strength to strength.
Good. Okay, publications information. Note the receipt of the following: the CCB e-bulletin, B2 newsletter, and Decelerate, the police community speed watch newsletter. All right. Future agenda items. The suggestions for future agenda items.
I think we said we're going to put the local transport plan on the next agenda, didn't we?
Yes.
Right. Okay. Publicity and website. Yes.
Sorry. You know, the boundary changes, which are doing my head in, I have to say. And we've got something on the town council site. It doesn't actually explain how that's impacting the town council. Because my understanding is we're kind of staying with the old wards until the next load of elections, which is, I mean, you know, and I think it'd be quite helpful to put that explicitly in, because it is weird, but.
You know what's happened, don't you, on the back?
Well, I've read it several times.
So London gets about 852 new councillors, and everybody else gets minus 3 or something.
Well, but I mean, it's going to be an odd thing, isn't it, for about 3 years that we've got like the wards for borough and national, but then we're still working on the whole ward structure for town effectively, aren't we? Because we are where we were elected for. That's my understanding of it. And if it's not,
I think parliamentary boundaries are staying as well for any by-elections until the next general election.
Yes,
So it's a similar sort
but I
of.
think at ward level,
At parish ward level, they have kept, so for instance, classic example, Loddon West.
Yeah.
Right, it's still called Loddon West, but in the borough, it's going to be part of Southgate.
yes, exactly. So,
Yeah, but it's still called Loddon West, so from a resident perspective, and a parish council, because that's what we are, perspective, there's no change.
And
You
it
were
was,
elected in Loddon,
and it
and
was
like
the,
Pavinda was elected for Loddon West, and he still is Loddon West until 2026.
yes,
It's the
exactly.
boundary.
So effectively, they're going on in parallel.
and it was the boundary commission that wanted those local boundaries, the town and parish council boundaries to stay as well.
Yeah.
And I think if you put something on the website, it'll be confusing. Because you've got parliamentary changing happening imminently, you've got the borough happening in May imminently. And if you then put something that's not going to happen until 2026, I think it just makes it even more.
27.
27, sorry.
We might just put, there are no changes to town walls. Release that.
We can have a look at the wording and just
Yeah.
make sure that it's as.
Just don't confuse, there's
No,
too
no,
much
no,
change.
Okay, where are we? 20, well, enforcement issues, and just list those. Brockenwell Road, intermittent light source. Three Copsmead, not built in accordance with plans, I don't know. One, I don't remember. Three Copsmead, no. Coleman's-Moor, 4 Coleman's-Moor is the one that we were talking about tonight with the shed over height.
Oh, yes.
Enforcement closures, Haddon Drive, hoarding erected, no breach, Coppice Road. PCN served, notice served, and that's on the HMO issue and parking. Right. Okay. Right. I think we've got any members of the public lurking at the back, have we? So,
We'll still need to take a vote on. We need to take a formal vote on, items 22.
to resolve that in line with the Standing Order 112.2, in view of the confidential nature of the business about to be transacted in relation to personal information, it is advisable in the public interest of the public and present temporarily excluded, and they are asked to withdraw for item 23 on the agenda.